Suzanne?
Here.
Mr. Damron?
Here.
Ms. Hart, I do not see her right now. Ms. Knudsen?
Here.
Mr. McDowell?
Here.
Mr. Palmer? Was on those two? Ms. Ponce Doyle?
Here.
Mr. Do not see. Mr. Router?
Present.
Mr. Riddle?
Here.
Mr. Ross?
Here.
Seehausen is absent. Mr. Shea?
Here.
Mr. Behrman?
Here.
And then Mr. Exner is absent, Mr. Mort and Ms. Thuringer.
We have a quorum, we will proceed. Is there any news, media, or guests here this morning? Sir, can you introduce yourself, please?
Grant Spooner, WC Videos.
Thank you. Any public comment? We have two sets of minutes to approve. The first one is the regular meeting minutes from October 24th. Is there a motion?
So moved. Shea.
Thank you. Second?
Router.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The next set of minutes is from the closed meeting minutes from October 24th.
So move. Shea.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second Ross.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Technology Committee, Mike, please.
Technology Committee, actually just want to go ahead and go through the 5 items. I know they've been discussed in the other committees. I noticed them on the agenda, so if you guys just want to pop through those, please. Sure.
Yeah. You want to talk to the 5? CAD mobile records update to Premier 1 is ongoing. We're in provisioning right now and finishing up some of the details. We have had to revise the timeline for the cutover. It's now November 4th. We're calling that a drop dead date. We could have probably done it a little bit earlier, but we made in the summer scheduling of all the training for all the telecommunicators, and that wasn't going to work on the schedule. So November 4th should give everybody enough time to be trained, enough time for us to test, and get up and running for everybody. And then well, in November, December, if there's any bugs that should come up, that they have everything perfectly ready by the start of the year on January 1st for all the records reports. It also allows us to bring the entire CAD suite up at one time. Originally, we were going to bring up CAD mobility in April and records and reports in the fall, but now we can bring the suite up as well as the whole suite, which should be better for everyone. You guys, something else get to it? And I'll let you go in.
The MCOR project, we went ahead and did the final acceptance test on both the MCORs yesterday. They worked fine. The failover worked. All the configurations and everything are up and running. So the MCORs are up and running well with no issues. The Westcom building, as we've talked about, the guys are in the process of installing all the USC equipment. 99% of it's in there right now, so all the backroom equipment's in. So right now they're putting on monitors and getting ready to install the CAD computers and that at the Westcom project. So that's going in, and we should still be online at the time they're asking for. The Motorola bundle project, EastCom has their acceptance testing for their consoles today. After the meeting today, we'll go and doing that. Their go live date is next Wednesday, the 5th. Bolingbrook is not too far behind. We're finishing up their configurations and testing, and they have a go live date of March 18th, I believe. It's the following 2 Wednesdays. We've had no issue. They've been working well. All the training went well, so I don't anticipate any issues when they go live. And then the 5th one is I have on mine is the
So they went up for a vendor for consultant to study the accounting radio needs and to determine what they might need to upgrade that system. They chose a vendor, Tusa. After going through the process, they've been working on a contract, and they submitted the contract for approval by the county board. I think it was approved last Thursday. So they've got their consultant vendor on board, and he'll be working with their staff to come up with a report on what the next to the county's
did you want to add anything to that? Or?
See, pretty much yes, it is. See that it's rolling, so the next process is determine if we have what we need.
Do you have any idea of the timeline?
Not as of yet. Sure.
Thank you. That concludes 10.
Thank you. Moving back to the minutes of the closed meeting, our attorney advises us we need to specify for the closed meeting minutes whether they are to be released or remain sealed in our motion for those. I assume we are releasing them.
That's what we thought.
So can somebody make a motion to release those closed meetings?
I move to release the minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to long-range planning, Steve.
Yes, Stager Eastcon consolidation is in full swing. I'll let Dale or Steve comment on that. One of the more pleasant outcomes is the possibility that two of the consoles can be relocated, which would give the county some pretty significant radio interoperability opportunities. My understanding is one console is slated to go to the sheriff's office so that they can be fully on Starcom and also tied into our M-Port so that they would have access to all of the conventional assets. The second one going to the EOC, which is a huge improvement for the EOC to truly have complete interoperability back to the core for police and fire systems as well as Starcom. So it's if you're going to make really good lemonade, this is the way to do it, and this is a good match all the way around. But either Pam or Dale, you want to comment on the consolidation?
Pam can talk now.
How do you have to do it? You want to do it? Okay. Stager made a decision earlier this year that they thought maybe it was time for them to shut down and consolidate, so they approached Eastcom and they were working on contract negotiations. And on February 5th, Eastcom Board of Directors approved in advance both consolidate Stager into their operations. Stager brings 5 agencies with them, so Eastcom will increase from 11 to 16 agencies. The Stager position on the board by our bylaws would then be removed, and our membership on the board would be reduced to 16. We've always endorsed as a board consolidation. We've always assisted in that with buy-ins. Stager's operations board has looked at their fees and their formulas. We've done buy-ins in the past for Lincoln Way, Manhattan Police Department, Braidwood, and a few others along the way. Eastcom's board is requesting from our board $55,336 for each of the 5 buy-in agencies, or a total of $278,684. The funds will be used to offset the costs that occur with consolidation. The 5 agencies are completing or have completed, can verify that, have completed, or are completing their call handling and call agreements.
Yeah, we're not sure what Stager State's doing yet. As of last night, they're not sure what the other 4 are saying.
We also had in place an existing intergovernmental agreement between South Chicago Heights and Will County. They're one of the agencies, or 2 of the agencies involved in this. We redrafted the agreement from last year and changed it to say Eastcom was at Stager. Our attorneys take a look at that and approved it, and to my understanding, it was approved by the South Chicago Heights board about a week and a half ago. So all places, everything's in motion to make it happen. When we get the intergovernmental agreements, we'll complete a plan modification, submit to the ICC. They're hoping that this can happen by April 1st, but as we go on a week, Christmas potential might be a little bit longer, but I don't see it being any longer than May 1st. But we're going to try and help them make sure we can have this by April 1st. All in all, it's a good thing. We've been talking about consolidation, especially this one for quite a long time. The invitation has been made to their telecommunicators to test and apply for positions at Eastcom, and Mary Jo is going to retain and be involved in the police department in administrative functions. So everything's good there. The plan looks good, and so we're looking for the board's approval for the buy-in amounts and to approve the agreement with South Chicago Heights and as far as the reimbursement of their surcharge fees.
I think the motion as written now needs an extra phrase about the Stager Estates paperwork or something just specifically maybe.
Well,
about
yeah, we
paperwork.
didn't know, so maybe you would need to amend it to say for each of the 5 agencies, when the intergovernmental agreements are received, or something like that. That way, we won't issue any funds to them until we have to complete the agreement.
How did the board surmise the 55,336 for each agency?
They've got a formula just like you did, and Wisconsin does, based on their capital assets and their operation costs. This is a fee to pick up a portion of the total assets that they already have in place that are depreciating. I don't know the formula, but basically there's a certain amount for operations, a certain amount for capital assets. Roughly like maybe $36,000 or $37,000, I think, for capital assets and $16,000 or so for operational costs.
I had talked to Pam, and without really realizing it, Eastcom and Westcom have used very, very similar formulas to arrive at these buy-in numbers. To give an example for Westcom, from the Westcom reserves, meaning the agencies at the time of the build-outs expensed almost $600,000 for the addition and renovation of the Plainfield Police Station. So we felt, in fairness, the next agency in the door, we should pretend like they were an original agency, meaning their portion of the ante up as part of our reserves to build the $600,000, it would be the fraction of as if they were present when we actually built it. So we did a divide by, and I think the 14th agency in the door paid 1/14 of the $600,000. So that's how we arrived at it. In talking to Pam, they arrived at a very, very similar formula. I think, Pam, I don't want to speak for you, but in the discussion, without even knowing it, we arrived at the same kind of buy-in to justify it and to be fair to the other agencies.
Right, and our formula was developed back in 1998 when Eastcom originated, and that was the binding formula that Eastcom put in their revenues.
Yes.
I remember at our meeting where we couldn't really act on this previously, I had some concern about them not being totally in Will County, and I think my concerns were answered with our capture of their surcharge money or whatever
They're not one.
So I just want to make sure that we're not using our county dough for that, but it seems like we're getting made whole.
So what happened when South Chicago Heights Fire Police wanted to join into Stager, we, as we did with Bolingbrook, said, dissolve your board and become part of us. And they go, well, we don't know if we really want to do that. We said, well, you know, you have to turn your surcharge money over to us or we're not going to be able to play ball. So we looked at a lot of different interlocal agreements, Mundelein and some others, and John did an awful lot of work with their attorney, and they came up with an agreement that says, you know, you're going to be a paper board, you're going to turn all your surcharge fees to Will County. And they've done it every month, and the first month you get a check from them every month on their surcharge fees. So instead of us getting their surcharge fees from the telcos or the state, we're getting it from them, but they are paying it bill and they are doing it religiously, and it's working out. So they are in fact part of our system, even though they're located in Cook County. They are fully, we're collecting all the surcharge monies for all the residents, and they are participating as one of our agencies.
So did they dissolve their board?
No, there is a paper board essentially. They collect the fees and submit them to us.
Because theirs is different, like Bolingbrook's isn't it a different amount? Isn't South Chicago Heights a different amount? It's not 75 cents.
Yeah, and that's why they dissolve their boards, because they're like Bolingbrook. Bolingbrook doesn't, we don't collect all of Bolingbrook's surcharge, we collect a portion because they're higher than ours, so.
The only function the board handles actually is writing a check.
Right,
That's
yeah,
the function.
they
dissolve down to that. They still have to have a board to cut the check back.
Right.
And it seems like how they arrived at these buy-in numbers, since they are so similar between these multi-jurisdictional agencies, that it's fair, that it's being done in a fair manner. But I do have a concern about, from the 911 board standpoint, about potential cap or what this could potentially cost us in the future. Not so much this one, but in the future. I'm just afraid that if they keep using the percentage portion buy-in, And that if we reimburse 100%, we could get ourselves into some trouble if we don't address that.
Well, I think as these come up, they've been handled on an individual basis, and I think in the future we could do the same, handle it on an individual basis, look at the numbers, see if it makes sense. Because we couldn't act, as Chief Riddle pointed out, we couldn't act the other day. One of the discussion points was, because we didn't have a quorum, we couldn't take action on it, but one of the discussion points was that we should put this back on the agenda to come up with a standardized, some framework at least, so that as more agencies come into EastCom or more agencies come into WestCom, we have a feeling of what to expect. And I think that's just fair to the board. So as far as the long-range planning committee goes, this will be back on the agenda for discussion, but the pattern has been the same in the past. We've done it now for Lincoln Way, EastCom, and us over the years, and I think in the moment right now, this is a fair thing to do. I fully want to discuss this further.
I think as we move forward too, I think it would be helpful for those of us that don't work with these formulas to be able to see the breakdown, how you came to that total dollar amount. You know, we're assuming in good faith that these are good numbers. And no issue with that, but as we move forward, it would be helpful to know how did we get to that number, just on paper, just to see it.
So when they do these buy-ins, this money goes to more to the PSAP, to the PSAP that they're purchasing into, correct?
Right, typically it tends to help cover other things we might need to do, whether it's a new microwave setup, maybe it's another console, maybe it's, or not a console, but maybe it's on the radio system, additional receivers. I mean, when we've had people come in, we've had to place receivers out in their territory so we can use the radio system. So that's where we use the money for. But it was formulated based on as if they were paying into our reserves for the years previous in order to build out what we had in that snapshot moment. So that's how we did it.
So, you know,
Right,
as I'm thinking about this, I'm sorry, Pam.
I'm sorry. Well, that's how we formulated the cost, and Steve is exactly right. And for example, we're getting a new simulcast system to accommodate them at $110,000. U.S. Digital project is $28,000. The new hiring and testing, and I have this all broken down, and I'm actually $8,600 in the whole breakdown.
So Mike, to answer your question, EastCom's going to send a bill to each of these 5 agencies saying you're welcome to join us, you owe us some amount of money, either the $55,000 or maybe some other amount. We're going to, when we receive all the paperwork, we'll send payment to EastCom to offset the bill. We're not going to send it to each of the 5 agencies, we're going to send it to EastCom to say, on behalf of Steger State's Fire Protection District, here's buying contribution of $55,000. They may owe $70,000, I don't know, but that's what we're going to do.
Okay, because, you know, we discussed this last week in committee some, and, you know, my first question was, how do we justify 911 having a policy about them buying into a board? Well, the answer to that is we have a substantial fiscal investment in each one of these centers. And
consolidation helps us.
And consolidation helps us. You know, it is a stated goal that we have moved forward. So, I mean, I see the justification for us having a policy. And I'm actually not worried about the PSAP charging too much. I'm worried about somebody getting in and not equally contributing into the system and gaining the advantages that we provide because we're very self-contained.
Well, these agencies, all the Chicago Heights, have been contributing since the beginning. I mean, the only ones that haven't been contributing to the Will County 911 is South Chicago, or Chicago Heights. South Chicago. Because everybody else has been in Will County. Well, I mean, they're Will County agencies.
So the question is, do we need to take a look at, you know, buy-ins from people existing and doing consolidation, and do we need to incentivize that, or have a separate policy for people coming in from outside the system?
So, well, I think all of this should be discussed in the long-range planning committee, and not to cut off the discussion, because it's a great discussion, but this was brought up. We could not take action at the time. I'm asking Steve to put it back on the agenda for the long-range planning, so we can feed up the formulas and talk about the expenses and do all that stuff in that.
So we're not taking action on these items today?
Well,
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are, but the discussion went, and again, we could not take action because we didn't have a quorum. The discussion went down the line that we will, you know, endorse this concept for these 2 motions, but we also want to put it back on the committee agenda to discuss future activity of the same nature.
So Mike, one of the two tasks for the Illinois 911 Advisory Board was A, to find out the cost of operating a 911 system, and the other is to talk about consolidation. One of the concerns is how do we provide incentives for consolidation? I think we're probably going to look at it as a model, because as far as I know, we're the only system in the state that offers minor fees for consolidation. So,
Page County's help.
okay, pages don't perhaps, but, so it is for further discussion, but it's certainly not only in our system, but across the state. So the motion, the first motion then to approve the Stager East County consolidation and the appropriation of buy-in fees for each of the buying agencies consolidated amount of $55,336 each, or a total of $278,684 with the ETS, when the ETSB has received their individual intergovernmental agreements and call handling agreements. So we'll modify that motion to make sure we
I'll make the motion.
I'll second, Ross.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Roder?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Ms. Buzian?
Abstain.
Mr. Damron?
Aye.
Ms. Knutson?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Aye.
Ms. Pons Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
Aye.
Mr. Shea?
Aye.
Mr. Bierman?
Aye.
Mr. Palmer?
Aye.
And do we need to amend anything on the South Chicago High School? Just motion good as written? Okay, now we,
I make that motion.
Second.
Brad, move to previous roll.
A second for previous roll, please.
Pam's out.
Second.
Oh, okay. Well, it's.
You're out.
Are you going to abstain
you-
from this one
you-
too?
you-
No, I don't have those.
Okay. This is my money.
Just think of the advantage.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm still on.
Moving on to one of our favorite topics is legislation endorsements, and I don't want to read the whole thing to you, but there's some pretty glaring items out there. I hope our folks have been paying attention to what's going on at the state level. We've got several points of position. Is anyone not familiar with what poison control is trying to do to us? Everybody up to speed on that? Of the 73 cents we get for wireless 911, they want to take 2 cents of it. We're getting mixed reports that the piece of legislation came out of the Senate subcommittee yesterday. We have not been able to confirm that, but the poison control centers are very well equipped with lobbying efforts. There's several other bills. There's a House bill and a Senate bill that are mirror image of each other moving along. Westcom anyway is taking a stand against both of those, keeping in mind that the poison control centers recently had a $30 million bill signed into law by President Obama to support 54 poison control centers nationwide, so they've got access to that money. There's another bill that's bubbling through as a grant from IDPH for $1.3 million. That's the second bite of the apple that they've got. The third bite of the apple is our 2 cents, which I think is they should not have access to. However, some of the sponsors of the bill have indicated that because of the overwhelming opposition to it, they want to seek some kind of compromise. I don't know what that compromise might look like. One of the positions was that the sponsors of the bills, plural, will wait until the report comes out of the 911 Advisory Committee, which they're meeting twice a month now in Springfield, and conference calls to determine the cost of operations for 911 centers, so we can justify even more why we need to maintain the 2 cents for the wireless. So there's a lot of moving parts. Again, I don't want to belabor all this, but is there any discussion or concern on the positions that this ETSB should take? There is a resolution to support these position statements. We can go through these individually if you'd like, or if you're okay with the motion as it stands.
Just one question. Everything that's in here, all of the proposed, the lawyer have a chance to look at everything. Does everything seem good in here before we make the resolution? to oppose or to stand with?
Yeah,
Because there's so much change
We're
going on.
following
We're following the Indianapolis guidelines, and then I also want to, we're also have received the support from the Illinois Fire Chiefs Association, which is very much appreciated. So you see your chief, tell them thank you very much. Also, the MCHC had contacted Will County and had been on the agenda for county board to support it, and they took it off to that agenda. So we appreciate the county board listening to our concerns. We have a couple of legislators that signed on as co-sponsors, and we're aware of that, but it's an uphill fight, but at least we're starting to be heard. And an awful lot of thanks goes out to Senator Tarrant, who is near to us and constantly. I can't believe how responsive she's been. She emails me after everything she does or before she does something. So, and she talks to Steve constantly. So we're getting a lot of good local support. So again, if you see folks that are involved in this besides 911, please tell them how much we appreciate it.
Getting back to Brad's root question for John's comments, do you have any issues with the way the resolution is written?
No, not at all, and actually, as this has been matured between the two Steves, I've seen most of this, and it is consistent with what the positions of the other 911 associations are.
So move.
Seconded, Ross.
Previous?
Second to previous.
Second.
All those in favor of previous roll?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Me.
Sorry.
You're opposed to the,
Previous roll, because I'm not on it, because I abstained.
do we need to do this over again? Just have a voice vote on this, or?
The chair can request a roll.
Roll call, please.
Sorry. Ms. Buzan?
Yes.
Mr. Damron?
Aye.
Ms. Vincent?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Step out. Step
My
out.
phone for 1 second.
Okay. Ms. Pons Doyle?
Yes.
Mr. Router?
Aye.
Mr. Riddle?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Shea?
Yes.
Mr. Bierman?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Before we get off the topic of legislation, there's a lot more stuff going on in the legislature this year than ever before. One of the questions has to do with releasing a 911 audio. I think we need to pay attention to that. Another one has to do with sick leave. There's a lot of personnel type issues. And if you'd like, I can send a spreadsheet out, send it to Steve for dissemination of the board members here. There's a lot more than just what we read here. And we need to have an awareness of some of these things that might impact us. I think the 911, the release of 911 audio is a huge one. I know we've worked very closely with the Will County State's Attorney's Office to take a position that we try not to release that unless we're absolutely compelled to under FOIA and with the AG's direction on what to do. And I know we call John on these kind of issues all the time, so that's one of them. But if you'd like, we can send out a bigger list on all the different topics so you can weigh in on those. And I think everybody got instructions on how to do a witness slip for the committee hearings. If not, we can send that out to you. Very easy to do online. A couple clicks here, a couple clicks there, and you can take a position on the deal. And what I've seen in poison control issues, they do pay attention to how many people come out against it. So it's important to get the witness slips in as you can. Anything else on legislation? Moving along, this came to us from Bolingbrook PD and was discussed. The next issue has to do with the endorsement of Will County Chiefs of Police. They're basically asking for an endorsement of a concept where type 3 leads message would be sent for any potential major police incidents. And Tom, did you want to comment any further on that? It's pretty straightforward.
It is. I've had an opportunity to talk to the PSAP directors individually, and it's been brought up with Will County Chiefs for the last 2 monthly meetings as far as the logistics of it. It's an optional program, and the Will County Chiefs will be meeting next week to endorse it, and are asking this board to endorse it in theory today.
Okay, any questions about that?
The Chiefs Association has already endorsed it, right?
They'll be doing it formally next Thursday.
Oh.
We only meet monthly at the schedules, but we've talked about it for the last 2 monthly meetings.
But they were also asking it's like chicken and
Chicken and
egg.
egg, yeah, somebody's got to be.
Somebody's got to go first. We're offering to go first to say, sure, there's nothing ever preventing this from happening in the past. You could still send a type 3 message for almost any topic you choose to. It's just an endorsement that should be used as a pre-alert for any major incidents that go on. So I'll entertain that motion.
Motion, Ross.
Second, McDonald.
Put John on the board.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed?
Last item is the Illinois 911 Advisory Board. They're finalizing a worksheet. And Steve, did you send that to the directors? Okay. It's not been finalized. It's kind of like a hurry up and wait type of thing. They want, the 911 Advisory Board wants a worksheet filled out as far as the true cost of running a PSAP. And it's going to be tough to describe apples versus orange in some of these because, as an example, possibly your agency gives you free housing and you don't really see a building maintenance line item on your budget, but a freestanding center might see a building maintenance line item on their budget. So I don't know how they're going to match it, mix and match for those line items. It's almost to the point where they're asking the PSAPs to change their budgeting and almost their accounting ledger to accommodate this study that they're trying to do. Linda Zerwin and DuPage offered a much more simplistic worksheet to try to get at least a ballpark of true costs. We're trying to work to get that one endorsed, but they're working on a final draft of it. I think that's going to come out soon. It's now 2.5 weeks, Steve, to turn it around.
Yeah, they want it by March 21st, I believe.
So it's coming up upon us, so if Steve is asking for numbers, please accommodate as best he can. Steve's going to try to compile that and send it in. But they're trying to get a true cost of 911 because the ICC is claiming that, well, I shouldn't say ICC. There are outside forces that are claiming that we're not using the money appropriately, which kind of burns me. But by the same token, we've got 911 systems downstate that they're dipping out of reserves just to stay afloat, and their revenues don't even pay for what it costs for back to AT&T or their provider to keep the doors open. So it's an important thing. We're trying to prove the total cost of operating 911, including personnel and benefits and your building and whatever it takes to run a 911 center. They're trying to gather that information so they can justify going back to the legislature next time around for a higher amount for us for surcharge. So please play in the sandbox as best you can. Steve will be coming out with that survey as we can see it.
Real quick, don't forget the cost of the basement.
Oh, that's all included. I mean, the worksheet that we've seen, it's data, it's broadband, it's T1s, it's phone lines, it's furniture, it's UPSs, it's generators, it's a lot. And if you printed out the Excel spreadsheet fully, it's probably, what, about 25 pages?
Oh, no, it's about 4 pages.
Well, okay,
but there's like 10 attachments, 10 tabs.
All I'm saying is don't forget to
Something
add
like
the
40
cost
pages
for
for
the
this.
value of the portion of the data center that you guys use here.
That's all included in the survey. You know, they're trying to get in everything. Just a complete, total smash as far as what you pay to keep 911 up and operating will count. And that includes microwave and broadband and everything. So
I'll take care of all the county-wide.
Well, they asked
the assets, but
Radios are on the list.
we're going to ask you to take care of your PSAPs, and we may even see part of that on that list, so you're only looking at your expenses, not my expenses too. But then, if you can get it back to me, I'll compile it all and put it into one form for statements.
with apologies for the length, I'll
Thank you. Moving on to personnel and public education.
Our committee met on February 19th. Some of the issues we discussed were in executive session, including salary issues. So at this time, I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss salary issues and to include counsel and Mr. Marco to allow them to stay.
Second.
All those in favor of going into closed session?
Aye.
Any opposed?
making the COLA retro December 1, 2015.
I will get it. Yeah.
And Tom's okay as the second?
Yes.
Mr. Shea?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Mazan?
Yes.
Mr. Damrock? Ms. Simpson?
Yes.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Ms. Mons Doyle? Yes. Mr. Router?
Aye.
Mr. Riddle?
Aye.
Mr. Bierman?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes. Okay, item B, Will County TSB reappointments. Steve?
We have 6 board members whose terms expired in February. They've all submitted the necessary paperwork to the county executive's office. They're scheduled to be reappointed at the March county board meeting. And we will schedule a swearing-in ceremony for our April 24th meeting. And all members are going to continue to serve until the reappointment.
And item C, the board chair, vice chairman.
I've actually asked our attorney to hold the nomination, to handle the nomination.
Chair has asked me to oversee the call for nominations. I can let the board know that by email, board member Thuringer submitted a nomination that the same slate be requested to serve as is currently serving. So what I ask is somebody to make a motion to open the nomination. That motion be seconded and approved by a voice vote.
Move we open nominations.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And if there's any board member that would wish to adopt member Thuringer's suggestion of the same slate being nominated for their current offices, then a member could so move.
Move. Seconded, Ross.
Aye.
Don't vote yet. Vote yet. Are there
I make the motion to close this.
Now, we have to ask, are
Three
there any
times.
additional nominations from the floor for any of the offices of the Will County TSB?
This is why I asked him to do it.
No, is it,
Can I make a motion to?
I have to ask, we actually stated we would be opening nominations and voting at the next meeting. Do we need to stick with that on our agenda?
I think the way I read that is you're taking nominations today and actually conducting the election next meeting.
No opposition.
We're just establishing a slate if that's the desire, or making nominations if that's the desire.
And I think if the board moves to close nominations at the end of this process today, then there could be no more nominations between now and the April meeting. So then I'll ask again, are there any nominations from the floor for the offices of the Will County Emergency Development System? Any additional nominations from the floor for the offices of the Will County Emergency Development System?
I move nominations be closed.
Second.
All those in favor of closing nominations?
Aye.
So then at the April 24th meeting, the slate for election will be the same slate as is currently serving the board.
I see the campaign flyers.
Thought you were gonna escape.
Yard signs will be out.
Okay.
Robocall.
Steve, our last item, item D, consideration to revise the TSB call transfer policy.
Actually, the board was proactive and established the call transfer policy, which seems to be in compliance with state's requirement. And so we're just going to submit to the ICC our current policy for call transfers. We asked in committee if there was any changes needed or any updates, and it was felt that what we have right now is more than adequate.
Thank you. Madam Chair, that concludes.
Thank you. Moving on to finance and equipment, which we just had at 8:30 this morning. The Finance and Equipment Committee has reviewed the enclosed claims for October, November, December, and January, the amounts given.
I'll make the motion to receive and place on file approval for Will County Treasurer's Report receipts and expenditures month ending January 2014 with a cash balance of $3,200,456.11, and the October, November, December 2013 and January 2014 list of counties paid invoices by GL distribution reports.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll. Sorry.
Okay, Mr. Router? Mr. Bierman,
Yes.
Ms. Buzan.
Yes.
Mr. Jamrock.
Aye.
Ms. Simpson.
Yes.
Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Ms. Pownce. Mr. Riddle.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Yes.
Mr. Shea.
Well, he stepped out.
Okay, Mr. Palmer.
Yes.
Next item is the island license reimbursement request for $1,000 from Rockdale Police Department for one island license.
Motion is presented.
Second.
Previous roll.
Second.
All those in favor of previous roll?
Aye.
Next item is firehouse software.
Motion is presented.
Second. Previous roll call.
Second.
Are you up, Karen?
Doesn't
Okay.
matter.
All those in favor of previous roll?
Aye.
Any opposed? The IP voice logger for Westcom.
Motion is presented.
Do I have a second?
Second, Ross.
Any discussion on this item?
Previous roll.
Second for previous roll?
Second.
All those in favor of previous roll?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item E is pulled from the agenda. We're going to get more quotes on that. The next item is Steve's car that has 150,000 miles on it that is going to be breaking down soon, and we're probably going to come in April with a recommendation to either get an allowance or buy a new car. The next item is Westcom shared expenses. This is,
During the Westcom construction project, we've had expenses that we've shared in cost with Westcom, not always 50/50. The biggest component of the 50/50 was the UPS system for about $62,500 of our share. The other $30,000 is in cabling and cabling trays and all the things that have to be in the back room to make our equipment work. So the total bill came to $95,552.12. We gave you a list of 7 items that are involved. Construction for as far as shared expenses with Westcom is complete, so there should be no other requests in the future, and this will take care of our commitment to the Westcom project for shared expenses in the amount of $95,552.12.
I'll make the motion.
Second. Fred.
Any discussion? Roll call, please, Karen.
Okay, Ms. Pownce.
Yes.
Mr. Bierman.
Yes.
Ms. Buzan.
Yes.
Mr. Jamrock.
Aye.
Ms. Simpson.
Yes.
Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Router.
Present.
Mr. Riddle.
Abstain.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. Shea.
Aye.
Mr. Palmer.
Aye.
Motion passes, thank you. Under additional comments, before we leave, I'd like to read a thank you card to the ETSB from Mary Jo Szymanski. Dear 911 Board, on behalf of the entire Szymanski family, I want to thank you for your generous gift of a videographer for our daughter Kate's wedding on January 11th. It was a bittersweet day, to say the least. Your thoughtfulness and generosity will enable both my husband Greg and me to see the wedding in its entirety. I was called back to the hospital right after dinner and missed a large part of the celebration myself. Now that Greg is well on the road to recovery, we are both looking forward to watching the video as soon as he comes home. Thanks again for everything. With much gratitude and appreciation from Mary Jo and Greg Szymanski and the newlyweds, Kate and Brandon Mahoney. Also, next time we meet in April will be the milestone meeting. We've done this annually for the last couple of years, and we recognize the telecommunicators with pins and so on for their anniversary dates. And in the past, we did recognize Joanne Burian with her 20-year anniversary at an ETSB meeting with the cake and so on. But there's 4 911 staff employees who have hit their 10-year mark in the past year, and I would like to make sure that they are included in the April milestone stuff, and maybe something a little extra just for you guys. Okay? A cupcake.
It's not 20 years, that would be.
Yeah, yeah.
Half a sheet.
Does anybody else have any comments? Do you have anything to say?
We're appreciative.
You have nothing?
Aye.
Real quick, yeah, because we extended the CAD cutover date, there's been a lot of concern from some board members about attending APCO and NENA conferences and state conferences, so the timeline is open now. Again, Karen would really appreciate anything you could do to help her as far as room reservations, so we can take advantage of early bird discounts. So if you would like to go to any of those conferences, I think NENA's in Nashville and APCO's in New Orleans, or vice versa. So Karen's got all the details for you, but please, if you would like to go, make sure you get into her so she can get everything taken care of.
The sooner the better.
The sooner the better, she says.
Does anybody else have any comments?
I'd like to thank Mother Nature for continued support for the heating
I
and
was
air
just going to
conditioning
say,
business.
hopefully this is the last meeting that my face hurts outside walking in. Hopefully by April 24th. The next meeting is April 24th. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
If anybody would like to see how the $95,000 was spent, please feel free to stop by.
Night.